China Uber Alice is brought to you in part by Sushi Market Sprouts on 7th in Santa Cruz and Kaito in the Capitol Mall Food Court. Treat yourself to the finest Japanese cuisine you'll find anywhere with fresh sushi to go and delicious ramen dinners. Sushi Market Sprouts and Kaito. Yum! Hello, I'm Bill Graff. This is China Uber Alice. I'm here with my guests, Nan Su, a senior reporter for the Epoch Times, and Amy Hao, who is a survivor of the re-education camps from the Chinese Cultural Revolution under Chairman Mao. We have a very interesting show for you today. It's hard to believe, at least it's hard for me to believe, that we have coming up very soon the 33rd anniversary of the 32nd?
Yes, 32nd.
Well, I can't count either. 32nd
That was
anniversary.
my fault. I counted wrong.
Of the Tiananmen Square massacre that took place in 1989, if I remember right.
June 4th, actually, right now in China, because China is 16 hours ahead. Right now, it's June 4th already.
So it's already the anniversary.
Yeah, it's already the anniversary.
Yeah.
Amazing. I can't believe that was that long ago.
32 years ago. Wow.
Amazing.
32. It's like more than a generation long, you know. It's just incredible. So we will have a special guest today. He was one of the student leaders on Tiananmen Square 1989.
I would venture to say he's probably on China's most wanted list.
That's right. He was listed number 5 on the most wanted list by CCP after the massacre. So we're going to talk about Tiananmen Square. And keep in mind, China just made an announcement they are going to ban the memorial service on both Hong Kong and Macau this year. So last year was the first year they banned the memorial service, which has been taking place pretty much every
30
year.
years.
32 years. For 30 years.
Yeah, for 30 years.
30 years. And last year they had an excuse of COVID, right? So this year they officially say no more. So this is what happened in Hong Kong and Macau. So we're going to talk about that. Of course, before that, we're going to first have our usual segment, Amy Hao's story. And if you always our audience, you probably should remember by now, Amy spent more than a decade of time in the re-education camp during the Cultural Revolution under Chairman Mao. So, Amy, what are you going to bring to us today?
Yeah, today I wanted to talk the story. It's about the food coupon, ration coupon.
Food coupon.
And 25-pound coupon. That's one story and lead to two tragedies.
Two tragedies.
Yeah, two tragedies. Yeah, so I don't remember when they started this food ration coupon. As I remember, I was, have a memory. I was born 1952. So, living in China, 30 years, there's always a coupon. The food ration. And we have a door, they have even the city is 25 pound.
But let me clarify.
Okay.
For your entire lifetime, you do not remember a situation where there wasn't without a food coupon. Okay, just want to make sure.
Always. That's how I remember. So, in 1969, I went to the labor camp. And then I have a godmother, in China it was very common. Godmother is like not religious. It's like somebody give you guiding. She's a very, very good woman. She's a Christian. And she's head of the children's hospital in Shanghai. And she's taking care of all the kids. Just really nice. So why she become my godmother is I was born very shortly. I have some kind of, I was sick. I think my intestine, some diseases. So she taking care of me. Then I was so skinny. And so she said, to my mother, I said, I'm going to help you how to feed the baby. But I still skinny, but at least I survived, and taking care. So she teaching my mother how to give me a bath, and also other neighbors, everybody. And then I went, 1969, I left Shanghai. And she was very sad. She has a daughter and a son. That time her husband is a surgeon and was locked in a private jail. And basically they starving him to death. It's just horrible because this surgeon, he went to a missionary school. So his English is better than Chinese. So lots of time he would come out some English words. For instance, in the X-ray room or something, he taught to as a doctor in those medical terms. He used English, but that's what he studied, Mm-hmm. And so they accusing him as a spy. Because the last school he went, the medical school, St. John, which was an American school, missionary, university, medical school. And so they accuse him of spies. They want him to confess. Confess. He couldn't write in Chinese properly the words. He had to look at the dictionary, the Chinese English dictionary to find the Chinese words. They always say no good. You didn't tell anything. They just torture him. But he's not a spy. He didn't know anything about politics. He never even interested in anything, So and after he died, and his wife, my godmother, and they threatening her. They want her to confess. You say your husband didn't say anything, so you had to tell us what the spy thinks you did. So she was a very honorable person. So she felt like, maybe that's ended because she's evaluated, people can respect her dignity is more important than the life. So obviously, she decided that wanted to commit suicide. But she couldn't, because she's Christian, you're not supposed to kill yourself. So she was wondering about a lot. So I'm talking about that. That time I already left China. And so after she died, she hanged herself in the bathroom. And then they call her son nearby in another labor camp come back to denounce her body, in front of all the neighbors, everybody. And then that time, if you suicide, and you needing to become an enemy of the Cultural Revolution, anti-Cultural Revolution, you kill yourself, right? And so they now allow that you can call the mortuary to get her body to cremate. They don't allow you to do that. So your son had to get those, it's like a menu, I don't know how to say the things, like a rickshaw, but they have something behind you. You can pull the body.
Oh, like a
manual, like a bicycle in the front.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what they call them here in China. That they carry for carrying the goods around.
Yeah.
Yeah. So have to then, but at least you need another person to helping him. So they ask everybody, all the neighbors, everybody has denounced her, and so nobody will go with the poor boy and my god brother, right? So that time, I think my second brother, he's just a very gentle, very nice boy, never get in trouble. And by that time, he stand up and he said that I go with you. So he did. And so they carried the body. And then after that, few weeks later, my mother was cleaning the house, and my mother always keep the house clean and move the furniture to clean behind the drawer, and found that there is the little package there. So she opened up. It's all the food coupon, and 25 pounds. That was one person, 1 month. So my mother always immediately think is my godmother did, because in a labor camp I don't have a food. So she saved every month probably 5 pounds or whatever, and then before she died, she just dropped it there. She think my mother will clean the house and will find it. And she found it, right? So I was in the I didn't know anything. They didn't write to me about, because if you're writing things like that, they open our letter, every letter from parents. So my father had to put a mouse quotation in half a page. So they get sick and tired to read it. They say, oh, that's almost, yeah, that's the only thing you can do. And then you're talking about something. But that always, mouse said this, that. So half a page. And so that's the way, and you can protect it. And then you're talking about, but they never would say somebody can be suicide or anything. You can't talk about it. So they tried to give me the message. I don't know how they didn't. So until I got home, they talk about that. And so that's the first time before I started a school in Kunming. And I went back to home. So they told me that sad story. I was very sad. They gave me the food, the coupon. So I took it. They said, she left. That's the last thing, she left it for you, because she always worry about you don't have a food, So I would treasure it. I don't want it to spend it. I say, this is something, I had to hold on to remember her, right? So I got this back to Kunming, and then I had to get my luggage in the labor camp, and whatever things. Mostly I wanted to get back the letter my father sent it to me. Every Thursday is day off. He always writing, because it took about a month to get to me. So he keep writing, so I keep receiving. Right? So I want to get this. This is very important to me. Then I don't have much luggage that time, So I got back. Then they have a little town. They serve. It's not a restaurant. It's like a inn kind of thing. They have some food stand and give you those rice noodle. But you had to use the coupon to buy. If you not just money, you go
you need the money and coupon both.
Yeah, both. And they were small, like 1 ounce, 2 ounce, and then 1 pound and 2 pound, those kind of things. If you have money, you don't have it, you can't get food.
And if you have the coupon, no money, you can't get the food.
You cannot.
Also cannot, yeah.
So that's why some of the people, they save some of the coupons.
Yeah.
They will sell the coupon.
Yeah, that's why I'm talking about the second story. So the first story is sad, right? My godmother story. And then I keep it there. Then in the shop, the food stand, I met the guy. And we went to the labor camp together, but he's still there. He didn't get a chance to go to the school because he go to some mountain area, and they offer him a job, and it's like in those general store, is a cashier. So he got this job. He was salaried employee, so they can government. This all belong to government. So he has no chance to go to the university anymore. So I think, so I say, let's have this rice noodle. And so I bought one bowl for him. He was so hungry, just, I said, what's happened to your mountain area? He says, it's okay, but there's just no food, they said. So I look at those tickets, those coupon ration tickets. I say, well, I go to the school, so they will give me some kind of coupon every month. It's true. And I don't need it. So I give it to him.
The coupons?
Yeah, the whole thing, 25, because I never use it. I just keep it, this my godmother, left for me, right? So I give it to him. I said that you need it. So I told him the story, my godmother. I think he also met her once. And then I give it to him, and I didn't know what's going to happen to him. So after 2 years, I think one of my friend also working in that, still in the commune, and he left, and so through Kunming. So I have a lunch with him. So he told me, he said, what's happened to that guy? I said, no, what's happened? He said, he's been arrested. I said, what's charged for? He said, because he's selling those coupons. They say it's a criminal. So they arrested him. He said, before I leave, I went to see him. He said, so sad, they just put just chain him. The leg, chain the 2 legs, and working in the field. You know, in that there, you know, those jail, I mean, those is prison. It's very, very harsh labor. You know, they treat you like an animal, probably worse than that. And we was there. And then, so I feel so sad because I you know, if I didn't give him that, he didn't have extra in one cell.
Yeah, but still.
I blame myself, you know, for a long time, really, because I think, you know, I didn't know, you know, it would have that kind of ending, you know. But in 2005, I went back to, I already in the United States a couple of years, lots of years already. I went back to visit. So we have a reunion in the restaurant. I say, you gotta find that guy. What's happened to me? I want to know. So actually at the ending, it's not very, very bad, because he working in the prison, and the jailer, the daughter, little girl, coming to see the father, bring some food, and saw the guy from Shanghai, nobody visiting him, you know, so he was giving him some food. And somehow, and for years, and this girl grew up. She fall in love. I think mostly she was sympathized him and with this guy. So he told the father, he said, I want to marry the guy. Her father said, no, you can't. He's criminal, you know. He said, I want to marry. I just want to. So he said, you had to let him out. So the father write the report to the authorities and say he already there, reformed for that many years, so he's out, and she married to him.
Well, that's good.
That's unbelievable. So, you know, still have a
little happy ending there.
Yeah, then the boy's father died, and so he have a chance to go back to Shanghai, and so he brought the girl and his wife and moved to Shanghai. They have a little house, have the front, you can open the food stamps, you know, the rice noodle. So they have that shop. I was headed there, you know. It's original, that style. So that's the
small business. Well,
small business, yeah.
That's pretty good.
Not bad, yeah. So that's the end.
That's the end of today's.
The end about the food coupons. But that time, for years, I feel so bad because when he was in jail.
Well, that's how the government wanted you to feel.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Listen, we are going to hear the continuation of this next time. We have our guest is on. Nan, I'm going to give you the job of telling our audience about our guest today, if you would.
Yes, today it's our honor to have a special guest who is a friend of mine, Zhou Fengshuo. Mr. Zhou is the co-founder and current president of Humanitarian China. He's the advocate of human rights. He was also one of the Tiananmen Square student leader in 1989 during the movement. As a physics student at that time in Tsinghua University. Now, for the ones who doesn't know, Tsinghua University, it's China's MIT. Basically, it's China's top university in science and technology. So at that time, Mr. Zhou was a physics student of Tsinghua University, and he organized the very first and the only free election of a student union in 1988. That's a year before the Tiananmen Square massacre. So he organized a student to elect a student leader in Tsinghua University. That was the first and the only free election at that time in China. During the Tiananmen Square protest in 1989, he built and led a Voice of Student movement on Tiananmen Square. He was the number 5 on the most wanted list of student leaders after Tiananmen Square massacre, and was arrested and spent a year in prison. He was the lead plaintiff in the civil lawsuit against the Prime Minister Li Peng in 2000. And also, he was the director and then president of a Chinese Democracy Education Foundation between 2001 and 2010. And also, something really brave he did. He slipped back into Beijing to commemorate the 25th anniversary of Tiananmen Square massacre, and he was arrested again and sent back. He participated the umbrella movement in Hong Kong at the same year, which was a few years ago. So now keep in mind, Hong Kong this year they already announced that they're going to ban the memorial service of Tiananmen Square massacre both in Hong Kong and Macau this year. Last year they had an excuse of COVID. This year they officially announced those events are banned. So Mr. Zhou, welcome to our program. Are you there, Mr. Zhou?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me. That's very encouraging introduction.
So first, before we talk about the Tiananmen Square, you are the president of Humanitarian China. That organization. You are the co-founder and the current president. Would you introduce a little bit about your organization, Humanitarian China?
Humanitarian China is currently the primary human rights organization in the United States. We are based in San Francisco Bay Area. We officially registered in year 2007, and we focus on promoting human rights and providing financial aid to political prisoners in China, including the Tiananmen Mothers Group and others who were killed or imprisoned, to their family. If necessary. Every year we will provide for more than 100 cases each year, and now we are also covering Hong Kong. We helped about 20 people from Hong Kong. Some of them came to United States. We helped them settle down in New York City and also in San Francisco Bay Area.
This is Bill Graff. Thank you for being on our program today. I have to ask you, you went back for the 25th anniversary and snuck in. You're not planning to sneak in again this year, are you?
I'll try. This year it's kind of late, but I always have that in mind. In the future, I will keep trying. I'm always looking for opportunities. I don't believe that's that's like waterproof. There must be a crack in the wall. Right? We have to find it. That's why I did it in year 2014. I was able to bypass the normal surveillance, even though we know how much they look at everyone. I even declared that I would go back to Beijing when I bought the ticket. I said that I had bought the ticket, but even with all these monitoring surveillance, I was able to get in. When I was standing there, I was thinking, God, only God could open this door for me. Please let me in. And I was in. It was, to me, it was such an emotional journey. Of course, in the future, that's also what I want to do.
Yeah, very courageous man. This is Amy, Mr. Zhou. And look back 32 years. In China, have 4 leaders already, right? Deng Xiaoping, Jiang Zemin, Hu Jintao, and Xi Jinping. 4. Then United States, I think we have 6 presidents since then. I think at that time it was Bush. Yeah. And Bush, and then Clinton, then Bush, then Obama, and then Trump, and then Biden. Right. 6 of, yeah. So what's your opinion? You think the situation in China, the human rights situation, and so for the 32 years, is getting better or worse?
It's getting worse. If you can tolerate and even cooperate with a regime that will use tanks to attack its own capital, there's no limit they would do. So I think that's the bottom line. That's what happened in the last 32 years. The United States made a big mistake when China took the wrong path 32 years ago, and we are paying for it. I hope it's not too late, but I'm relieved a little bit when I think pretty much last year the Trump administration did a fabulous job of shooting the first shot on many fronts. But this year, I think the Biden administration has largely follow up. I think that's good. That's very encouraging. And the last 30 years, appeasing China is a wrong decision by both parties. Now, U.S. public has to wake up to this existential threat to us from everywhere. I mean, even here, for example, because of digital totalitarianism, they have their influence everywhere. In United States, for example, students can't talk about Hong Kong because the professors are worried that they will be persecuted by national security law, which has this capability, of going out. They even put Samuel Chu, who is a U.S. citizen in Washington, D.C., on the most wanted list. That's the kind of regime we are facing. And by the way, Samuel Chu is a son of Reverend Chu, who was also a prominent leader in Hong Kong for the last 32 years in commemorating Tiananmen and keeping the legacy alive.
Now, Mr. Zhou, let me ask you this. It's been 32 years. It's more than one generation's time already. It's a very long time. Now, looking back of Tiananmen Square student movement in 1989, that was 32 years ago. If you want to, you want to say one thing the students could have done better, what would that be? If you have you ever thought about that?
Of course, that's always in my mind, how to do it better. I believe we had some golden opportunities and we wasted. At that time, Beijing was in control by the protesters, but these who were sympathetic to the students were not talking to each other. For example, I have been doing this discussion on Clubhouse. There's a senior PLA officer. She came out saying that there's overwhelming support for the students, even in the high-ranking officials in Beijing. But they never talked to Zhao Ziyang, and Zhao Ziyang, who was the nominal leader of the Communist Party, he was pushing for some political reform too, and of course he was removed illegally, even by the communist standard. But he was just staying home, be quiet, while Deng Xiaoping, the mastermind of the massacre, was marshalling a 250,000 of most elite troops to attack. It's just a lot of things that could change China. Freedom was within reach, but we definitely wasted a golden opportunity.
I would like to ask a question. You were a student at China's equivalent of our MIT, a very...
The Tsinghua University.
Tsinghua,
yeah, but I mean, it's a very prestigious and very scholarly place.
Yes.
And yet Deng Xiaoping decided to declare war on any student movement. Basically, that's what I get, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I understand this correctly, why would China's leader go after the people who will eventually end up in positions of power in the scientific community? It would seem to me that's what the education's all about, right? For them to take their rightful place as scientists in China. But this student movement was so reviled by the government. How many students were actually taken out and removed from the working class of China because of Deng Xiaoping's war on students? How many learned people did the government take out of the population?
We don't really know. It's just like how many people died last year during the plague in China. I mean, it's still ongoing, but even just talking about it, it's a crime. So we don't really know. We probably will never know how many people died during the massacre because it's too late now. For the families of these who were killed, they had to keep quiet even today, even though some of them are still now they are living in United States. They are still very much in fear of speaking up for their loved ones. For example, in one of the most amazing books, Louisa Lin, who was NPR reporter in China, this book is called The Republic of Amnesia. She discovered that between dozens to 100 of people were killed in Chengdu, but nobody had ever talked about it before her writing. Nobody knew this, and nobody talked about it, even within the protesters themselves. Nobody had any idea what happened. But she documented it because she did thorough research and was able to gather witness accounts from 3 different people. And one of them actually was, I don't know if he's still a congressman today from Michigan, I believe.
Wow.
Mr. Zhou, I have a question. So in 32 years, and I think online I read lots of things about this Tiananmen Square, even, people writing the book and everything. And is anything really published in China? Or they just banned everything? Because right now, the new generation, they don't know anything about that.
Right. They don't know. In the immediate aftermath of the killing, they were trying to use some their own reports as material to justify the killing. So these became very valuable information later. They are sought after today just as historical documents. But even the books are disappearing now. The government official account where they were boasting of their achievement of killing innocent people, so it is a void, emptiness in people's conscious memory.
Now, Mr. Zhou, let me change the subject a little bit. So 32 years ago, we had a Tiananmen Square massacre. The Western world provided some lip service, but really didn't do much to the communist regime. Now, 32 years later, we are talking about the genocide in Xinjiang. And now, if you link these 2 events together, going through the history, 32 years ago, the massacre, 32 years later, the genocide in China, do you think there are things that the Western world government should do better to help to change China?
Of course. The path was set 32 years ago. We should look at today's China from that defining moment, and any opinion that avoid this is wrong. Yeah. So was in prison. I think this was within 1 month of the massacre. I was in prison, in Qingcheng prison, the high security prison in Beijing. I read the news that President Bush sent his special envoy, I think Soft something. He died last year. To Deng Xiaoping, and the information in the letter was only revealed, I think, within last few years. Basically, in the letter, he told Deng that he wasn't serious in punishing CCP, and he still wants partnership even after such senseless, brutal killing. United States betrayed Chinese people who are fighting for freedom, democracy by cooperating and make it prosper like today. Now we have created a monster what we're facing, and it's definitely a mistake.
So
aware of it.
So, Mr. Zhou, so in 1989, when this happened, and some people later, just like you're talking about, we're changing some policies, everything toward that event, even to recognize that. They think the theory is based on, they think 1989, the democracy in China is premature, which was interrupted their reform procedures. So if don't have that event happen, so they were accordingly to do the reform. And so what do you think about this kind of talking?
That's definitely wrong. This government who had no accountability to its own people, and they are paranoid about holding power at any cost. So the same the same officer reporter who told her own experience and of Beijing against martial troops on the street and was beaten severely, almost fatally. She talked about the connection between Lhasa martial law troops and Beijing martial law troops. Most people probably don't realize in March of 1989, they used troops, soldiers in Lhasa to implement what they call this martial law.
You mean Lhasa, the capital city of Tibet?
Of Tibet. So, they were actually debating this. So, Jiang Ling, who was the reporter, she, in her opinion, the Lhasa martial law was not necessary, and using troops was definitely redundant, somehow dubious. But her opinion was rejected. What's the prevailing opinion at that time was that, because 30 years ago, before 1989, the troops killed many Tibetans in Tibet, and that had kept Tibet in relative peace, even though very cruel one. And that's what they want to do. And they were preparing for such operation at any other cities in China. So they were doing this even before Huiyabang died, before anyone went on the street to protest. They were preparing to use troops and tanks. There's also a very revealing research on the connection between the martial law troops in Beijing and in Lhasa earlier by a different lady. Yeah.
Mr. Zhou, I have a question for you. I know it might be uncomfortable. If you don't want to answer, please feel free not to. But in light of your status, at least for a while back, being the number 5 on the most wanted list, do you fear for your life to this day still?
Yes, No, actually, I had some real fear last year too. But even in this very house that I'm talking from now, about 3 years ago, there were 2 Chinese agents taking pictures of my house right there. And they were not even trying to hide. They were taking pictures with a real camera, a huge camera, not iPhone or not a phone. So when we went out to chase them, they just left in a hurry. But I've been thinking about this. Only this year I realized why they were doing this. They want me to know that they know where I am at every moment. And they are not yet. So they knew I was at home and I was looking outside. They were there. Because, if they want to take my house, you can just check it online and find it. It's easy in the United States.
So those people, they are the Chinese embassy workers or what?
I don't really know, where they're from, but they were definitely of Chinese origin, and definitely not ordinary people, not ordinary U.S. people, Chinese community.
The reason I asked the question is, we've heard other accounts in the news recently. There was the fellow who fell victim to the Russians and managed to get him to a hospital in time and save his life. There was the guy who was walking down the street and got poked by the end of an umbrella and ended up dying. I mean, there are the way you hear how Chinese government treats its people in China. Anybody who's a dissident from China outside the boundaries of China, I would imagine they have some sort of, secret police or some organization that takes spies that take care of dissidents such as yourself.
Right. I mean, there were incidents like this. For example, one of the most famous person in 1989. He Weilin, he was a classmate of Deng Xiaoping's son, Deng Pufang. He was trying to negotiate with Deng family, between the students and the Deng family. He was arrested before the massacre, when they decided to shoot at the end of May, a few days before the massacre. And later he died in Mexico, after he was released from prison when he was traveling. He died in Mexico, and nobody really know the circumstance. So that's the kind of situation we are facing. Of course, this is the safer place, probably safest than any other country in the world. I traveled to Thailand 1 year to help rescue the son of human rights lawyer Wang Yu. And I was waiting in Thailand, and the son was helped by 2 other volunteers. They were in Burma, and Chinese police went to Burma and kidnapped them back to China. That's what's happening.
So, Mr. Zhou, I have one more question for you. You think 32 years gradually and CCP was infiltrated to the Western meeting? Because, I remember 1989 CNN report the whole event. I just watching hours.
Me too.
So now, it's the major mainstream meetings, very little report, especially in the United States, and talk about the human rights in China or anything. Is that you believe that they infiltrated to the Western meeting with CCP?
Of course, media, but the media is not the worst part. Actually, on the other hand, I think media probably is the industry that has done best to fight against CCP. I think every profession probably are infiltrated. For example, lawyers. They should be fighting for human rights, but they were silent at all these abuses issues. Why? Because they could make big money. Even if they themselves are not working in China, they may have offices in China. And I was working for a financial company, and the HR person told me that the Chinese state-owned investment company wouldn't like to see me. After she saw me on she heard a colleague saying that they saw me on TV talking about 1989 Tiananmen massacre. That's the kind of situation we are facing.
Wow.
Wow. Let me ask you. Let me talk about a different subject a little bit. Yesterday, when we had a conversation, you told me tomorrow you're leaving the Bay Area. You're going to fly to the Southern California to have the ribbon cutting event for a new statue. It's called CCP virus statue that's going to be erected in the Southern California. Would you tell us and the audience a little bit about the event?
So this is one of the most important events this year. It's in Liberty Sculpture Park, where there's one of the largest monuments to Tiananmen massacre called the Zhou Fengshuo monument. That's what we call Tiananmen massacre in China, Zhou Fengshuo or 6-4. And we also have other statues there. Of course, this year, because we believe that CCP is responsible for this pandemic, at least in the cover-up after it was spreading like fire in Wuhan.
What kind of statue can you tell us about?
It's basically, I think half of it is the face of Xi Jinping. The other half is a monsterly skeleton, skull. So, that's what it is. It's really ghastly. So I hope people could come. I would love to see you there tomorrow. You still have time to drive to this place. You can search it, called Liberty Sculpture Park.
Oh.
And my organization, Humanitarian China, is a main sponsor of main owner of this project.
Which city is it?
Yermo. This Yermo. It's in the desert between LA and Las Vegas.
Yeah.
I see.
In between. Yeah. Yermo. Yermo.
Okay, we are running out of time. Mr. Zhou, thank you so much. It's really our pleasure having you today, and we are hoping in the future we'll invite you back to talk about more about the Tiananmen Square massacre, as well as the things going on that your organization is doing here in the United States. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. For those who want to contact me, please contact Humanitarian China. You can find our Facebook, our website, and I'm also on Twitter. Just search my name. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Well, we're going to take our commercial break here in the first hour, and we will be back to wrap up the first hour of China Uber Alice for today.
Satisfy your hunger right now with the delicious ramen and sushi you'll find waiting for you at Kaito. Easy in and out location in the Capitola Mall food court. Special orders welcome. Fresh, delicious, and oh so good.
This is Koji. I'm looking forward to seeing you at my restaurant, Kaito.
Since 2020 is behind us, let GS Construction help you unmask the potential exterior beauty of your home with James Hardie Fiber Cement Siding products. James Hardie Fiber Cement Siding is the world leader in durability and long-lasting color and protects your home against fire. During COVID, we're offering contact-free quotes and exterior 3D digital design at no extra cost. Call Gavin Silva and his friendly staff at GS Construction, 831-247-3612, or go online to gsconstructioninc.com.
Get discovered and win the business. Hello folks, Michael Olson here. The best way to get your local business discovered is by listing it for free in Think Local First directory of locally owned businesses. Think Local First will then promote the directory to all those who want to support the local economy. Registration is free and the potential customers are free, so don't delay. List your locally owned business today at thinklocalsantacruz.org and win the business.
I'm Jim Chubb with Pacific Inland. Our NMLS 361091. If you're interested in buying or refinancing, I suggest you take advantage of my reliable expert advice. I'm at 818-7700. I help you make informed mortgage choices with zero selling. See my Sunday column in the Sentinel. We have a 30-year fixed at 3.375 APR with no closing costs. Some restrictions apply. Call me, 818-7700 for individual pricing. That's 818-7700.
If you have a home, you have problems. But in your neighborhood, you've got an ace in the hole. Hello, Charlie Friedman here with good news for all of you out there who have a garage door that needs painting, a gate that needs a hinge, or a leaking seal on the shower faucet. The good news is you can find a solution for almost every home and garden problem at your neighborhood Ace hardware store. That's right, you don't need to go to that big box store because you can find neighborhood Ace hardware stores in Freedom, Marina, Gilroy, Salinas, and at 2 locations in Watsonville. These Ace hardware stores are locally owned by my friends Manuel and Carlos Rodriguez. They're almost always on hand to make certain you find the solution to your problem. So, when you have a problem, head for your neighborhood Ace hardware store. You'll be met at the door and taken straight to the solution to your problem, and you'll be on your way soon with the solution in the bag and a smile on your face. Now, at all Ace locations, pick up your Longevity, Tangy Tangerine, and Healthy Body Start Packs at great prices. Ace is the place. You're Ace in the hole.
At Batteries Plus, we do more than fix phones and tablets. We help our neighbors power their lives. Visit Batteries Plus in-store, curbside, and online to save $10 on boat and RV batteries. For offer details and limitations, visit batteriesplus.com.
So just a reminder, if you've just joined us for the second part of the program today and you did not hear the introduction of our guest, let me just remind you, June 4th, tomorrow here, but today in China, because they're ahead of us on the clock, is the 32nd anniversary of the 1989 Tiananmen Square massacre. You've heard our guest talk a little bit about his thoughts on the anniversary and what's going on. We want to ask you as our audience, what lessons have we failed to learn about Tiananmen Square? We're going to talk about that in our second hour. We also want to remind you that our guest, the former student leader during the Tiananmen Square protests, is still, to this day, listed as number 5 on the CCP's most wanted list.
Yeah, that's a list of 21 names after the massacre, and he was listed number 5. And he did
spent time in prison.
Yeah, in prison for a year, and then he got out. So, and keep in mind, and then we are going to talk about that China has officially banned the memorial service in both Hong Kong and Macau this year.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk about that in our second hour. The telephone number is 479-1080. If you want to find out more about our program, go to ChinaUberAlice.com. There's a whole bunch of information there. Let's break for some news at 3 o'clock on KSCO Santa Cruz.
News Talk time is 3:05. I'm Sam Quentin with your King of the Hill traffic and weather. Let's start with the CHP page. This is in Salinas, Highway 101 southbound at Sanborn Road. Traffic collision with no injuries to report. 2 vehicles involved, both appear to be drivable, and units are en route to the scene. Elsewhere, Highway 17 up and over the summit. That is accident-free and moving at the limit. Highway 9 is clear. Highway 1 coming off the Fishhook southbound. You're going to find patches slow and go conditions there. Between the Fishhook and about Bay Avenue, you're looking at, about a 10-minute slowdown to your commute through that area. The rest of the way down Highway 1, let's see, more southbound stuff. Right around before you get to Moss Landing, just a couple of minutes delay through there. And let's see, Highway 101 right now southbound from South Coyote through Morgan Hill. You're going to find slow and go conditions there once again. And that should be, about a 10-minute delay through that area. Central Coast forecast for this evening, partly cloudy, then patchy fog in the morning, looking for an overnight low of 51 degrees. Tomorrow, patchy fog in the morning, that's going to burn off to sunny skies and a high expected of 72. Right now, outside the KSCO studios, it is 69 degrees. KSCO News Talk time now, 3:07. Time for the second hour of China Über Alles on KSCO.
China Über Alles is brought to you in part by Sushi Market Sprouts on 7th in Santa Cruz and Kaito in the Capitola Mall Food Court. Treat yourself to the finest Japanese cuisine you'll find anywhere with fresh sushi to go and delicious ramen dinners. Sushi Market Sprouts and Kaito. Yum!
Welcome to the second hour of China Über Alles for today. I'm Bill Graff, along with my guest Nan Su, who is, you probably know by now, a senior reporter from the Epoch Times, and Amy Howe, who is a survivor of the re-education camps of the Chinese Cultural Revolution under Chairman Mao. We have heard Amy's stories for a bunch of programs, every program, and every time I hear one of her stories, I almost, because of my background and where I grew up in the United States of America, we take so many things for granted here. It's almost just a little bit unbelievable for me to hear Amy's stories until we talk to somebody like our guest and we find out everything Amy has said is absolutely the truth, and it's unbelievable to hear.
Yeah, I remember 1989. I was actually here at San Jose State in the graduate program study, and that was I came here like January of 1989. So there you go. Just a few months later, I remember that, you know,
like it was yesterday.
Yes, that was
you know
yesterday.
What? Me too. And Amy and I were talking during the news break about the fact that everybody who had a television was watching CNN. They weren't watching anything else because CNN had the live feed, the live report. I don't know how
Tiananmen Square.
How did they get that out of Tiananmen? How did the Chinese government let them have it?
Well, he actually
the street
right. Actually, our guest just talked about because at that time the Party Secretary General Zhao Ziyang, he was promote a reform, political reform.
Oh, so that's
he was later removed, right? So that's why, because the internal power struggle, so CNN and all the Western media actually had a few days of press freedom, so they were able to deliver all the footage out of China.
Unbelievable. Yeah,
it was unbelievable to watch. And when that, I wish I knew. I to this day don't know the man's name. the young man who was
standing in front of the
tank.
That's right, that image.
That image I will never forget. And we were talking once again right before we came back for the second hour today. We were talking about the fact that there's a whole generation, 32 years. If the Chinese media didn't remind people about Tiananmen Square, the young people have never heard about it.
That's correct.
Yeah.
It's not in the
Think
textbook.
About it. 32 years.
Right. It's not in the textbook in China.
So young people in China don't even know about Tiananmen
No, they
Square.
don't.
Yeah. Even you search they block the people, outside of China. You have those documents, everything. They don't even know.
It's also I'm a commentator on one of the Chinese programs in the different station, right? So often when we talk about the tank, that's the crush of a student movement, 1989. You see, there are people that's just fresh out of a boat from China. They will say, they are joking. They say, "Is that true? You guys are lying?"
Yeah.
Because they grew
don't
up,
believe it.
They don't believe it.
Yeah.
Because they the Chinese regime wipe out the memory of a whole generation.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what lessons have we learned? What have we failed to learn about Tiananmen Square? What are we taking away from this? This is coming up on the 32nd anniversary. Well, if you look at it from China's point of view, the anniversary is today. If you look at our point of view, it's tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah. Let's refresh some memory. This was 1989, April 15 to 1989, June 4. 51 days. 1 month, 2 weeks, another 6 days. So it's talking about the deaths. It's about, they never tell you the true numbers. I think it was 180 to 10,000 something. That difference, you know what I'm saying? Because they never really counted.
You never know.
See, that's what our guest said.
That movement actually not just in Beijing, it's about 400 cities in China.
Yeah, I remember my younger brother almost got arrested. So he was in Canton, Guangzhou, and he was in Huanan University at that time. And he went onto the stage. He was actually going to make a speech about democracy. But what happened is once he took the microphone, just about that, he was going to start a speech, then the sound system went down. So he just laughed. He couldn't make it.
You know what?
So he didn't have any.
I'm quite serious when I make this suggestion to you. The power failure may have saved his life.
That is correct.
Definitely.
It's correct.
Really?
That was correct.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I remember 1989. That few days during the protest in Tiananmen Square, we were in front of the San Francisco Chinese consulate, and we were protest there over there too. So there's a lot of students all over the Bay Area. There's many universities. There's a lot of Chinese students, and they are joined by their the students of United States. They all went to San Francisco. We had many groups. So they have like I think that day they have a total six wave. So people go when they're early. They are, they just standing in front of the consulate and protest, yelling and show their banners. When they accumulate enough people, they march to Portsmouth Square. Then, the new people coming, they'll start accumulating again, and then when they have enough people gather, they, start marching again. There was total 6 groups that day that march from San Francisco Chinese Consulate to Portsmouth Square. That's Chinatown.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. We have a guest. Frank is calling us from SoCal. Frank, you're on China Uber Alice. Thanks for calling.
Yes, thanks for taking my call. So you're asking what lessons we have learned from Tiananmen Square, and I would say that because of politicians in this country here, because of politicians on both sides of the aisle and the mainstream media, the general population, I don't think has learned anything at all. That story was a big story when it happened, but it's been essentially buried since then. And I think the media in this country and the politicians, again, they do not want to hold China accountable for anything that they do, up to and including what's going on now with the virus. And I remember pretty much seeing live on CNN back in the day. The young Chinese gentleman standing in front of the tank. And I thought that was one of the bravest things I'd ever seen in my life, basically. Yep. And I was curious, do you know whatever happened to that young man? If he paid the ultimate penalty for doing that, or if he somehow got on with his life?
So far, by this moment, nobody still know for sure his name. Absolutely nobody know his whereabouts. So he's gone, and then later there were people coming out with different names. They say that's this person, that's that person, but was never confirmed. Even his name was never confirmed.
Who took the picture?
CNN.
It's a foreign journalist.
Yeah. But is it the back, not the face?
Not the face.
Yeah.
They are taking the picture was taken from a hotel window by a Western journalist.
Yes, I remember. I have a kind of a vivid memory in my mind of that, and then there was the crackdown on by the CCP police against the people on Tiananmen Square itself, and I don't know how many hundreds or thousands were that we know of that were killed, and then how many, just like the young gentleman that stand in front of the tank, how many more hundreds of thousands or more died because of that, were executed one way or another, or sent off to some slave camp somewhere and never to be heard from again.
That's right. After the Tiananmen Square massacre, besides the killing, sending many people to jail, they also basically stopped the class of each and every university in China. Mm-hmm. So that was the June 4th, 1989, right? So they stopped the class, and then they send all the students all around the country in the college. They send them to military training.
Yeah, I think the
re-education.
That's re-education.
I think that the Hong Kong people, the human rights group, they helping a lot, to get them out of there.
Yeah,
they go to Hong Kong first, then to other
countries. To United States.
Yeah, really did good job.
I remember it was more than 1 million people protested on the street of Hong Kong to support the student movement on Tiananmen Square massacre. And then the more than 1 million people protest was done several times actually during that 51 days. And that's why there's a huge number of people in Hong Kong. As a Hong Kong residents, they have a lot of memories about the 1989 student democracy movement. And that's why ever since then, every year they have a candle vigil night on the June 4th every year. But
until this year,
actually until
last year,
until 2019. So last year they didn't have one.
COVID, they don't.
They didn't get a permit because of the COVID. The authorities say COVID, but this year they officially announced it's banned.
Hey Frank, thank you for the call and raising your thoughts. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Keep up the good work.
You too. Yeah, it's an amazing situation that we find ourselves in right now. Hong Kong is, well, depending on who you talk to, Hong Kong's lost.
Yeah,
Hong Kong's gone. Hong
Kong's gone.
It's no Hong Kong.
And my mother and father and my sister visited Taiwan, and my sister. We have a great family story, which I probably shouldn't tell on the air, but it involved the Chinese-style bathroom and my sister, who had never seen such a thing.
Oh,
and so it ended up somewhat badly for my sister because she didn't know how to use it. And anyway, so but they talked. My mother talked about the Taroko Gorge, seeing that coming down the tiny little roadway on a double-decker bus. They talked about staying, believe it or not, at the YMCA in Taiwan. My mother said it was one of the most beautiful hotels she's ever seen, and it was a YMCA.
YMCA.
All kinds of stories like that if we're not careful, the Chinese government's going to do away with. I had hoped at some point to go to Hong Kong and see it. It's one of the few places in the South Pacific in that part of the world I've never been to. Would like to see it.
Yeah.
Not right now. I have no plans to go to Hong Kong right now, I'll tell you what. But anyway, we have another call. Colonel Terry calling.
Yeah. Hi, Billy and smart lady and gentlemen. Also, I'm so sympathetic to both the people of Hong Kong and the people of China, the majority of them, and the horrible, evil, red Chinese communist government that is the authoritarian tyranny dominating them all, and a threat to all the rest of us, the entire planet.
So, Terry, let me ask you the question directly. What lessons have we failed to learn from Tiananmen Square?
We failed to support the memory of that man who died, was murdered in Tiananmen Square, and all the other people imprisoned, and in some cases executed or murdered. And third, we failed to support, here's an opportunity for democracy and freedom and honest courts and and eliminate political repression, whether it's communist or Nazi. Very simple, and we failed to stand and support that. I'm not sure why since '89. That'd be an interesting historical analysis to do. But also, I'll tell you, damn Bill Clinton was bribed by the Chinese before he was governor of Arkansas and afterwards. And I don't say things, as you know, I haven't seen evidence to support. That's why Bill Clinton caved in on the World Trade Organization membership of Red China without it complying with any of the rules, which has allowed them to steal millions of American jobs, trillions of American fortune, thousands of American patents and trade secrets and proprietary technology, and not pay the value, and elsewhere, and from Europe. And we can thank Bill Clinton for being corrupt with China and Hillary. The same way we can condemn Trump for being corrupt with Putin. Hello?
Okay, well, I was just waiting for you to take a breath there because, I don't know if we can ever prove any of this or not, but I do know that we have seen the way China reacts to the world and other governments, and it's not above my thinking that China would try to advance its interests in any way possible, whether it's bribing a foreign leader or, senators or military people or anybody else. Mm-hmm. I think you might be right there, Terry.
Of course they will do that. The lack of ethics, although that's a word too complicated for the average American to comprehend at all, that the Red Chinese Communist government demonstrates is the treatment and release of the virus. It was without question negligence and possibly in violation of the biological weapons ban, and also in violation of being just towards their own citizens.
Well, it's morally corrupt to begin with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, this is what I'm thinking. I mean, if we actually help the students, if we help the democracy of 1989, that movement succeeded, we may be able to avoid the COVID-19.
You are 1,000% correct.
Good points. Hey, Terry, thanks for the call. We appreciate it. Terry's phone's getting a little flaky there.
Yeah.
All right, let's check in with Dan, who's calling us from Milpitas. Gosh, I really need new bifocals. I just really do. Dan, welcome to China Uber Alice.
Oh, thank you, guys. Actually, I'm a delivery driver and I deliver everything from Aptos, Dave Valley down to Felton. And everybody that I deliver from, or deliver to, over this. I've been doing it every day, and even got in trouble for working too many days straight. Thanks, Gavin. And then on top of that, they all have Black Lives Matter and, you know, love is love signs in front of their front yards, and all the boxes is China, China, China. So everybody's buying stuff still from China. And the funny thing is, that's a fact, because I work for a South American company. I think you know the name. And they ended up taking their signs down over the past year and a half, but they still get packages. So all the people that order packages can tell you for a fact they all got their Black Lives Matter sign posted in front of their house and their Biden sign. But now the same houses I've been delivering to, they're taking them down. So I just like to throw that one out there. But thanks, you guys. You guys have a great show.
Thanks for calling. We appreciate that. He makes a valuable point. He's
Thank you so much.
He's working with his feet.
Mm-hmm.
He's a delivery guy, and he's basically saying the volume of packages from China has not slowed down no matter what.
And I think that is the reason that the events, incidents like Tiananmen Square massacre got easily forgot. I mean,
well, you know, look, he's making a very good point.
Yeah,
and he didn't actually accuse anybody or say anything. He just made his point, and his point was, we're still buying stuff from China.
Yeah,
by the boatload.
Yes,
that's right.
More.
You know, why can't we just do a very simple thing? Just buy America, or let's just say buy anything but China.
Well, see, that's the thing. Look, we have found. I've told this story before. I have tried to buy made in America, and for some items, it's simply not possible because we don't make those things anymore. But we can certainly search out the stuff we can buy made in America. You know, I had a very interesting discussion with one of my colleagues here at the radio station about vehicles, and he bought an American car, a made in America car, on purpose.
Yeah.
To support America.
American cars are not
and you know,
bad.
he makes a very good point.
It's very good.
He makes a very good point.
See, nowadays, American
what about
cars
the
are pretty
parts
good.
all made in America or some
Well,
parts
see,
in China?
that was
another problem.
That's the other problem.
Yeah.
The supply chain for many things is worldwide now. So you know, you can have a car made, and the window washer fluid bottle that holds the fluid is made in Vietnam, and the oil filters are made in Mexico, and the engines are manufactured in Canada. You know what I mean? Parts come from everywhere. Mm-hmm. But I guess the idea he was trying to put forth is, I bought a car with a Detroit heritage. You know, I understand the point. I drive a Honda. Mm-hmm. My car was made in Canada. Okay.
Yeah.
Which is better than having it made in China.
Yeah.
For me, I just think we should alter our thinking.
And Chinese leaders also, they try to play wherever the international society's comments on China. Now, recently, because of the international pressure on the COVID, the investigation of the origin of the COVID virus, China's leader Xi Jinping just spoke to the Chinese Communist Party and ask all their diplomats, say, you guys should try to help China to gain an image of love, credible, and that's kind of like it's like that like Xi Jinping is criticized their own guy, right? But hey, think about this. Chinese leader has been played this kind of a trick many times. Just think about ping pong. That Chairman Mao played ping pong with the United States, right?
And diplomacy.
Right. They always, and the Jiang Zemin, when he flew to the United States as well as the Europe, Western countries, he actually sang. He actually sang.
In English.
Sing in English. See, they are very good at playing this kind of tricks when the pressure from the Western world is high.
You just reminded me of something that I'd completely forgotten until just now. When I was studying at the University of Hawaii, we used to have ping pong tournaments in the dorms, and the 3 best ping pong players in my dorm were Chinese. And I remember, I forget what year it was. I think it was the 76 Summer Olympics. You know what the big televised sport was? Ping pong.
Ping pong, yeah.
Table tennis. It was table tennis was the big one that everybody, like for a while there it was the speed skating. Remember in the Winter Olympics, Apollo Ono was our big American. Well, I remember watching the ping pong matches in that 76 Olympics in the dorm room, and the guys playing were standing like 20 feet from the table because they were hitting the ping pong ball that hard. And I remember that was one of the more popular sports to watch in that Olympics in Hawaii, where I was going to school.
Yeah.
And we had some guys in my dorm they were from Hong Kong actually. They were some of the best table tennis players I've ever seen. They had like 300 back in those days. They had like $300 table tennis rackets. They carried around in a special pouch. I mean, these guys were making money playing table tennis in my dorm. And I never. They called it, you're right, I remember it now, they called it ping pong diplomacy.
Diplomacy, yeah.
I'd completely forgotten about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, see, every time when Chinese leaders, they trying to play this thing smoothly, trying to show some sort of a low-tune gesture to the Western world, and then all the criticism, kind of like actually smooth out quite a bit.
But the wolf and the sheepskin.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's
it. Yeah.
That's it.
That's the image I'm getting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but then you will always later come back. Like, see, the first few years when Hong Kong was returned to China, the people in Hong Kong, they are very happy, right? They were happy, right? And then
50 years they promise.
Yeah,
nothing
they promise.
Gonna change. Everything same.
And then
now it's how many years now?
Yeah.
Only.
25.
35.
Yeah, 24 years. 24
already
years.
Old Hong Kong. No more Hong Kong.
No more Hong Kong. And then 2015, that was the 17th year when after China took back Hong Kong. That was the yellow umbrella movement. Yeah. For the ones who didn't know what yellow umbrella movement was, because the police officers in Hong Kong was using pepper spray, right, to
quell the crowd.
The crowd, and then everyone had a yellow umbrella in hand to protect themselves. That's why it's got a name, Yellow Umbrella Movement. And then you came the 2018 and 2019 democracy movement.
My mother and father went to Taiwan, and then on that same trip, I think they came home through Hong Kong. Yeah, they did, because my mother, you guys, you'll find this amusing. My mother found a traditional Chinese tea set, Noritake, Japanese tea set, and she had it shipped from Hong Kong to Guam, where we lived, and it took forever. My mother finally said to my father, I don't think the tea set's ever going to come, or if it does come, it's floating. It's floating in the across the ocean. It finally arrived. Not a dish was cracked or anything. It was perfect, but it just took a long time to come. But I remember my mother and father. This was so long ago that Hong Kong was still free, and it was. My mother greatly enjoyed it. Gone. Like I said earlier in this hour, I don't think I'm going to get to see Hong Kong, at least not the way my parents did, in a free manner. I'll probably have a chauffeur or a chaperone to take me around and, keep me away from all the things I'm not supposed to see if I ever get there. Who knows?
Yep. Now think about this, in the last year, just after the COVID started, right? The Chinese diplomat has changed the story many, many times about how and when he was from. And first of all, back in March of last year, the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Zhao Lijian sent a Twitter twice, and he tweeted. Twice. The first one, our first tweet was sent out in March 13th, and the second one, I think, is the March either 26th or 27th of last year. So it repeatedly lying that the COVID virus was brought to China. It was brought to Wuhan city by American military athletes who went to Wuhan to join the world military working in October of 2019. So that's what he tweeted about. And he actually said the United States own China explanation. And now that was the first version, right? That was the first version. Well, that was the second version. The first version was the wet market, right? Was a wet market. And then they say, well, it was brought to China by the U.S.
version
military.
number 2.
And then on January 2nd of this year, China's foreign minister Wang Yi actually talked to all China's state-owned media, and then all the mouthpiece, and then he had the third version. The third version was the coronavirus. The pandemic started from multiple locations all around the world, and China raced to report it the first. So China is the hero now.
Yeah, hero. Yeah, first to report it.
First.
It sounds like something that Chairman Mao cooked up. Let's kill all the birds.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just as absurd. It really is.
Yeah.
See, the lies you can't last, right? So then they have to keep cooking up the newer version, trying to convince the people, to make people accept that as a fact, to make all those things stuck in people's mind.
Let me ask you two a question, because I kind of really wonder about this. Does China think we're that stupid? I mean, we have scientists now around the world, really smart people who know about virology and all this other stuff they need to know about. I mean, all you have to do is look at the evidence.
Well, I think, why I think? I think China is been doing that because they didn't feel enough pressure from the West. See, we didn't really, we have been so nice to the Chinese Communist Party. We are being so naive to the Chinese Communist Party. We have been having very much a rosy picture about the future of the Chinese Communist Party. So so we basically make them feel they can play with us. They can get away from whatever the wrong things they have done, the crimes they have conducted. They can just, manufacture a few lies and they can walk away. And then when we put down our guards, they will do it again.
Yeah, I think they infiltrated our school for a long time. So brainwash people here, So recently some people asked me, say, why we had to think they are evil? Evil is a worshiper and Satan. So I said, well, maybe we should have called them Satan.
Well, there was one of our presidents who referred to a foreign leader as the Great Satan, if you remember. I forget which leader it was and who he was talking about, but I do remember the phrase. if you'll remember. Anyway, Ron's calling us from Carmel. Ron's a frequent listener and caller to the radio station. Hi, Ron. How you doing?
Well, hi. I was calling regarding reparations and the issue regarding COVID in China. I do know that China holds about $1.6 trillion or $1.2 trillion of our debt, but the catch is they own $5.6 trillion of debt of other nations of the world. And I'm trying to find out if your guests have any comment on what if an approach was taken to eliminate all the debt that is owed to China, and would most of that then cause a grouping of different powers of the world to consolidate against China?
Well, that's a very good question.
That's a very good question. Never thought about that before, actually. But it would be a good angle to solve a lot of problems. But I'm just not sure if it could actually be done, right?
Whoa,
because there was a lot of
wait. Let me entertain Ron's question for just. Let me just think out loud here.
Yes.
What if the United States said to China, "Sorry, too bad. We're going to declare the international equivalent of bankruptcy. We ain't paying you." What would happen? What would they do? We'd get what we want because they probably stop trading with us, so we'd have to have made in America because we wouldn't be buying it from China.
That's why they're working on the new system.
Oh, you mean the new monetary thing and all that?
Not monetary. I mean the financial system, the digital money.
Digital financial system.
To replace that.
So we just say we're not.
So what I say? So what? You come in, you occupy my place. So what?
Think about it.
Yeah. Well, that's hey, Ron. It's an excellent. It's an excellent thought, but. Yeah, just not sure if it could be done. Yeah, because we are better people. We here we are the better example of the world. I'm not sure if we want to do that, and plus, I'm not sure if we can actually convince our own elected officials to come up with that kind of legislation to actually.
Boy, I know the Australians would join that movement right now. They're mad at China.
Yes. Oh yes, of course. So, yeah. It's just because Australian officials express that they want to conduct investigate the true origin of the pandemic. So
Ron,
China stopped buying mining products from
every once in a while. Ron calls us and he asks a question that is almost profound.
Very intelligent.
Nice job, dude. Thanks for calling.
Could I ask you one more question?
Sure.
Okay, what do you think the Chinese would do if Trump came back into power within the next 6 months?
Well, I think Xi Jinping is going to really frightened.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the key.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
You bet.
Thank you, Ron.
Yeah.
All right, let's check in with Judith from Live Oak. Judith, you're on China Uber Alice.
Hi, this has been an amazing show. Well, I was one of those people that was watching CNN too, and it was just heartbreaking. I was watching it. And one of the things about it I recall was the statue that the students had put together, like of a feminine figure. Do you remember that? I think it was
it's a lady's figure, yes.
Do you guys remember that?
Yes, actually, if you go to San Francisco Portsmouth Square,
Chinatown.
They remade that in the United States and put in Portsmouth Square, San Francisco. You can see it; it's always there. It's been there for more than a decade.
Oh wow! How do you spell that? Porto?
Portmouth, I believe.
Portsmouth, yeah.
Portsmouth, yeah.
Wow, that's great because China did everything to remove those images of that figure. Everything, don't you think?
Yes, actually, you go to Washington D.C. There's a same statue that's I think it's about 10 blocks from White House. you can check it. It's called the communist victims. It's the victims of communism. That's the name of the statue. It's the same statue they made. They put it in the Tiananmen Squares and also in Washington D.C. So
this is great news for me to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, you should maybe make a visit to Portsmouth.
I have a book in storage, is Feminine Goddesses or whatever, and there was a picture of her in the opening, but it's still in storage because I'm waiting to make more room to put stuff anyway.
Okay. Well, good luck with that. Thanks for calling.
Thank you so much.
It's an amazing thing when you think of all of the people who have been affected in these last 32 years over the Tiananmen Square. It's just horrible. It was truly a massacre. And all the... I remember the history class I took when I was in college. Boy, there was some really interesting rhetoric in that class.
Yep, yeah. So, if you just think about let me give you a story. 32 years after the Tiananmen Square massacre, what China is doing right now here. So if you go to read the latest news, I think it just came out today in English, and it's been in Chinese news for a few days. In China, they have these all the state-owned media and all the propaganda machine. Right now, it's all coming out to publish papers to criticize the young Chinese peoples. They have a called 躺平.
Yeah.
躺平meaning lay flat.
Lay flat.
Lay flat
new movement. Yeah.
It's a new movement. People say
lay flat.
Lay flat. They just lay down doing nothing.
Do nothing.
It's more or less kind of like a civil disobedience.
Yeah.
But the point is because China doesn't have equal opportunity, so no matter how hard you work, you're never going to own the house. You're never going to. It's too expensive to marry, and it's too expensive to die, because if you die, there's a lot of
expense,
right?
Yeah.
And then too expensive to take care of your parents, and the elderlies, and too expensive if you get sick. So now they say, well, we're doing nothing. We're going to lay flat.
Lay flat. They call it movement. Yeah. All the young people.
All the young people.
Yeah. But I tell you something. I had to tell you the reason, and you cannot lay flat. They don't allow you. Yeah, because if you gathering couple of people say we lay flat, they immediately gonna arrest you because you like an anti-government.
Yeah,
what do you mean? How can you lay flat?
They won't arrest you just because you're not working?
Yeah, especially
you're not doing anything?
Couple of group people, they lay flat, so it's a crime. They're gonna arrest you.
Yeah, right now they got all the propaganda machines publishing articles to say criticizing the lay flat. That it's called 躺平 in Chinese.
Yeah.
Now, think about it kind of like understandable. You think about this, right? China right now, Xi Jinping is trying to promote the three child policy, right? Well, you think about that.
Well,
lay flat is opposite. That's
it's the opposite, right?
Reaction to that.
It's opposite. Now you think about the one-child policy, which started from 1980. So the people in their 20s, they may be the third generation after the one-child policy, right?
Yeah.
Think about this. If you have a young couple, their 20s, they will have 4 parents to support. So China doesn't have social security.
The two that get married.
So they have 4. The young couple, they will have 4 parents, and then they will have 8 grandparents, and then if they're going to have another 3 children, think about it. How many people this young couple is going to support, right? So you have 4 parents plus 8 grandparents. That's 12, and then now the government wants you to have 3 children. Of course, you can't have more than 3 because the government made a choice, the limit for you, the maximum is 3, right? So
you can't claim an accident. Whoops.
Well, yeah.
No, you cannot have 4. That's also against
the
law.
That's also right. The law, right? The limit, right? So just like a one-child policy, you have to have the second one. You have a big fine. Now you have a 4, you have a big fine. Yeah. But if you have less than 3, they will come talk to you. They will come talk to you. Hey, you better have 3.
They have this big sign, in the village. It said that if you don't have a 3, and the whole village is gonna be sterilized. You hear what I'm saying?
That doesn't make any sense, does it?
Punishment. So right
kind
now,
of defeats the purpose of wanting to have 3 kids.
Yeah. So otherwise, the whole village gone. No kids.
So that's
you against the government. You have 3 or none.
So it's kind of like
That's a control.
Irrational, right? It's irrational. That's what they're doing.
Well, it's like kill all the birds. It's the same thing.
Exactly. Same mentalities. Exactly.
For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, in a previous program, we talked about one of Chairman Mao's campaigns was to kill all of a certain kind of bird. And the whole country got involved and ended up backfiring big time. Did not work out well because it caused a whole lot of other problems, other things.
The distortion of the
natural selection process.
The train, right?
Yeah, always against the nature, against the human nature, against anything.
Well, that's what happened in China. You think about this, 32 years, and we have a genocide going on in China. Now we learn there's a worldwide pandemic, but all these things could have been stopped 32 years ago if we strongly support the democracy movement in Tiananmen Square.
Do you think we would have had enough power against the government of China when Tiananmen Square was happening worldwide? Do you think? Definitely.
Yes. Think about
good chance. Really.
It was an excellent chance, right? Now you think about the chain reaction after the Tiananmen Square movement, the Soviet Union, and then all the communist government collapsed after the Tiananmen Square massacre. But if we could just stood a little firmer and then really give the support, or at least we didn't, we can just say, hey, we're going to support the democracy movement in China. We're not going to let Chinese government join the WTO.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have the threat that we're facing today, right?
And if you think about it, we also wouldn't have the problem that had turned into Hong Kong.
That's right.
Hong Kong would have fallen, and Taiwan would probably be 2 Chinas. I mean, 2 real Chinas. Taiwan, its own government, and whatever happened to the Chinese government in mainland China.
So that's you look back 32 years ago, we missed a lot of opportunity to stop this pandemic and to stop this threat that's coming. And now we have to really deal with it. But however, there's a lot of people, even today, they're still really...
Well, like I said about Australia, I said about, a lot of people in the United States aren't real happy with China right now. Certainly there's very few people in Australia happy with China right now. There are other governments around the world. Japan's looking at China a little askew.
But not the people. Interesting group, because they can make money. That's all they interested.
The corporations.
Not the
think about it.
Human rights.
Well, there's a story that came out today. One of my other talk show colleagues on another program was talking about it earlier today, about the fact that Microsoft apparently has done something, I forget which country, but they haven't paid any taxes all last year. Microsoft hasn't paid any taxes because they got a tax loophole because they incorporated in some little country somewhere.
Now, see, Billy, about tax, I do have a little different opinion on corporate tax. We need to really prioritize who our enemy is. So all these American corporations, we could either lower the tax and lure them back from China.
Good point. Very good point.
Or push them to China become the friends of our enemies.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Microsoft not paying taxes by incorporating in some little country somewhere is a bad thing. What I'm saying is, it's an American. Even though they think of themselves as a worldwide company, they started in the United States, just like Ford Motor Company started in the United States. But we have a long history in this country of making lemonade out of lemons. When the Japanese bombed us, we turned Ford Motor, car factories into airplane factories in a matter of days, right? When the United States government said, we got to make some vaccine here, we're having a problem here about a year ago.
We made it.
We cranked
Remember the ventilation machine? Remember?
Yes, exactly.
Right away, yeah.
The ventilation machines were designed and built. Ford built them.
Yeah.
Okay.
The ventilators.
So we can do it if we have to.
If we wanted to.
If we want to. So,
why don't we just make some decision? We're going to resolve the communist regime.
You just asked the question I was about to ask. Why don't we just look? My grandmother said a lot of things that you can't repeat on the radio, but one of them was either go to the bathroom or get off the toilet.
Yeah,
that's a nice way to say what she would say. So make a decision, do it.
Yeah, well, I think the very good starting point is to boycott the 2022 Olympic. If we can do that, I mean, it's something smaller, but it's something that we need to. Still we need to convince a lot of people.
More than a few, but you know what? I think there are governments around the world who are thinking about it. Listen, I've got to go to our last commercial break. We'll come back and wrap it up on China Uber Alice in just a moment.
Satisfy your hunger with a fresh, prepared, twice-daily grab-and-go sushi you'll find waiting for you at Sushi Market Sprouts, 2 blocks from the beach at 300 7th Avenue in Santa Cruz. Fresh, delicious, and oh so good.
Hello, I'm Junko, and I look forward to serving you at the Sushi Market Sprouts.
Hi, I'm Deidre Bennett, and I am the owner of Zinnia's Gift Boutique in Scotts Valley, California. We pick our merchandise based on what's current trend as well as what speaks to our heart. We carry a lot of children's clothing, a lot of newborn, great gifting for baby showers, and we try to get up into those T sizes. Our biggest struggle being space. I tease all the time, I need to buy the airspace above me because I have so many wonderful products I want to showcase in the store, and I'm limited by my 4 walls. When you go into Zinnia's, there are gifts to be had and treasures everywhere. There's a little something for everyone, and I tease my customers. If you don't know what you want and you're looking around, perhaps it's going to fall out at you, and then you'll know it's the perfect gift. Zinnia's is located at 219C Mount Herman Road in the Graham Plaza next to Starbucks. Our number is 831-430-9466, and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at zinniasgiftboutique.com.
Hi folks, Warren Knox here of Knox Roofing. Here at Knox Roofing, we've roofed just about every type of house out there. Bird houses, bat houses, outhouses, cat houses, dog houses, steep roof houses, flat roof houses, lighthouses, fire houses, fish houses, smoke shop houses, island houses, tree houses, haunted houses, worn out houses, poor houses, and rich houses. The big house, you don't want to end up there. I'll stay on the roof, thank you. Bee houses. So whatever type of house you need a roof for, call Knox Roofing at 461-0634. That's 461-0634. Thanks, folks.
Hi, folks. This is Stephanie from Ben Lomond Market. We're a family-owned and operated full-service market here to meet all the needs of you and your family, offering old-fashioned meat department, a full-service deli with homemade hot and cold quality selections for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, freshly baked cakes, cookies, breads, along with locally baked gourmet goods, For those looking for a special dietary need, such as gluten-free or sugar-free, we have it. A full assortment of conventional and organic fruits and vegetables, gourmet cheeses, local wines. We also do catering. Let Mill Street Catering Events take care of all of your food preparation. Ben Lomond Market, here to meet all the needs of you and your family. Local people, local products, a family tradition since 1946. Thank you for shopping with us at Ben Lomond Market.
Our store hours at Ben Lomond Market are Sunday through Saturday, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. We are just about out of time. Thank you for listening to China Uber Alice on AM 1080 KSCO Santa Cruz. Amy and I will be back next week.